Good evening. Welcome to we're going to reconvene the Planning Commission meeting from the 1st of June to today, the 22nd. And I see that we have a quorum, and at this time the meetings is in session. I'll entertain staff to start the discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what we had intended to do is come together to discuss the suggestions that have been made either through our public input sessions that we've held at the three high schools, or that we received online, or that any member of the board or the Planning Commission has received that they wanted to consider. So pretty free-ranging discussion tonight. Staff's plan was to work down through the list that you all have received, just so we can get some direction on how we want to go, both related to those specific requests and generally with the land use classification ordinance. So if there are no objections to that way that we intend to work, I can start out with the first one.
I passed my computer here the last time I got
not work?
fix it.
Oh,
It's asking for a password. and
yeah, we went through that. You'll have to put a password in.
It's giving me a phone number to verify my
Yeah, I'll have to
identity.
go over and
I'll just watch the screen. We'll take care of it.
Yeah.
You got these papers right there.
These will help you. More than the screen
leave
one.
it with me and I'll have it ready for you.
Yeah, leave it with it.
All right, if we're ready to go through the first item that we had submitted online, was about the depiction of the National Forest at Cedar Springs. If you don't mind, staff will just review that to verify the accuracy. If there needs to be a change, we'll change it to line up with the conservation zoning.
I say there's several of those.
There are.
Is there a blurb that you could put on it that just says, you know, this map is intended for practical purposes and something like that? So they know that it's not giving 100%. I just think illegal.
I'll check into the what we can do under state code on that language. Second item was from David Sheritz, and he submitted a couple of different times online. I've answered Mr. Sheritz directly. He asked about when a grandfather clause would be lost. If a use is discontinued for 2 years, then the grandfathering would be lost on that property. So even if it changes ownerships, changes hands, that grandfather clause remains in effect for non-conforming uses.
Yeah, I thought we discussed that when you went over the packet about the grandfather.
We've had to answer that question quite a few times. Mr. Sheriff's office also asked what the average cost would be to apply for a special permit. And I don't know that I have a good average. We do have a draft amount in there, but that would have to be adopted by the Board of Supervisors. Then
What price range we talking about here?
I don't remember the exact,
I think I know.
Lisa may have the ordinance, but
5 digits?
no,
No,
generally 3.
Oh,
I think everything we had was under 500.
I don't think there was anything over 5.
Of course, we also have to apply postage cost to that. If there's 10 surrounding owners, we have to notify them by mail. If there's 100 surrounding owners, we have to notify everybody by mail. So yeah, that cost is going to be different based on the adjoining property owners.
Did we come to that number, just surveying other local counties to see what?
Two primary things went into it. One is staff time. So we do have to account for staff time. We did look at adjoining counties. We're generally in line with those adjoining counties. But we also wanted to consider, what's the appropriate price point? If you set your price point too low, then you're going to wind up being flooded every meeting with special use request when they might not be necessary. If it's necessary, what's a fair price for that? That takes into account that the county's paying you all, paying staff, having to advertise, having to have a building to hold the public hearing in. So there's multiple considerations there.
But there's the fee. Okay.
So on the high end, a variance at $500. So the rezoning would be 400. You all are free to make changes to those recommendations if you'd like.
If they were said, what would it take to change it?
Board action,
Board action? Is board action?
Board of Supervisors. This body can make recommendations, but the Board of Supervisors would have to be the one to actually set those.
What's an advertisement costing you now?
95.
$95. It's just one.
If we were still going with the newspaper, it would be $250 or so.
Yeah, it was getting way up there.
Because we can use, we're using Southwest Virginia Sun, is that right?
Yep.
Which is considered of record. It's knocked the price down to 95, so it's not as much as when we first started contemplating these charges.
Would we have to re-advertise for an appeal?
Re-advertise.
You're talking about the advertisement cost being $95 for, if someone was to appeal, would we have to do another advertisement?
That would be included in their appeal cost. So if they filed the appeal, it would be the $300. Generally, on most appeals, if you win, your cost is going to get refunded.
Is that hers?
Heidi, which mic are you?
8, I don't have it on.
Okay, no problem, that's fine.
Moving on to Jeremy Hagee. He asked about being zoned as high-density residential. It's on Blackberry. It's unlikely you're ever going to see high-density development up there on Blackberry. If you wanted to make that low density, we could. Or if you want staff to review the map, we can review the map and make a recommendation.
He says they have covenants already in place.
Yeah, I saw that.
Does that supersede?
No, we do not enforce deed covenants. That is not on the county. That is a civil contract between those property owners. Whether they're set up as a homeowners association or not, deed covenants and restrictions are up to handle civilly. The county does not get involved, and I believe every county and city and town that has zoning will say that somewhere in their zoning ordinance.
That's why I thought it was more like an HOA kind of thing.
Right. And I think that's what he meant as covenants, not conveniences.
So do we need to add that in our zoning ordinance somewhere?
I thought we had it.
I don't know.
But we do have it in our subdivision ordinance, right? Don't we require that to be put on our plats?
If they're putting covenants in place, yes. Don't require it, but if they are, they have to put them on there.
So we don't, the county doesn't deal with covenants. Is any of that enforceable? I mean, they have to have an HOA or something that would require that. So if they technically don't have an HOA, and it was just something that was noted in the deed, it really has no bearing.
Correct.
Is that correct?
It would be a civil issue.
Civil issue.
The adjoining property,
Civil issue?
the adjoining property owner would have to sue to enforce those covenants.
Okay.
So do you all have direction on, would you rather see that rezoned, or see that zoning change to R1 instead of R2?
And I've got another question. I'm just looking at that, just thinking about that, Mr. David Sherritt's. Just for example, in the R1, what we have labeled as R1, you have a block of land that has houses on it, and this certain, whatever landowner owns 5 lots, like he owns 3 acres there, and he sells it to the next owner, and the next owner decides he wants to keep the 3 acres and not develop it, but he wants to put chickens and a goat on it. I'm going back thinking, small scale agriculture probably wouldn't be a bad addition, because I hate to incur somebody a $500 charge or a horse, just for example. So.
Say it again, Dave.
This R1 district does not have agricultural in it at all, but just think, like down on 52 where they got that residential area on, down below the LDS church on the right, and how some guy buys 5 lots, but he wants 5 lots, so he can have 200 foot or 300 foot on each side of him, so he don't have somebody in the house.
Right.
Which that's what the person wants to do, they can do that. But he say he wants to put chickens or a goat or a horse on it. Under the way we got it worded now, he would not be allowed to unless he applied for a
Under the R1 unless you
variance.
apply for
permit.
variance.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the purpose of it though?
Well, true, but
I mean, the designation of R1
Yeah.
kind of stipulates that, so if you remove that, then you're kind of not an R1.
well,
Just let them come back and apply for the
Yeah.
other part.
when I,
For the variance, you mean?
so like what I think of is Whispering Pines and Foxfire, kind of piney.
Right.
Those lots are not big enough to put anything on other than a house because the way they're divided up. But some of these other areas could.
Yeah, I mean, I see your point.
I just don't want to put undue hardship on the citizens.
We got the subdivision of Pine Brook Estates at Piney, they're like 5 acre lots. So you could they actually got, horses. But they do have some stipulations. I don't know the one with lots up there. They got stipulations to control some of that through the agreements through the deeds. But what you're saying is exactly, that would work, that would be involved in that.
What do we have that particular subdivision? What do we have it listed as now? I don't have the map right here with me.
Which subdivision?
Pine Brook?
Pine Brook. There behind Sheffield Elementary School.
Yeah, a little bit of everything, horse, cows, and everything.
So you're wanting to do like small use agricultural,
Yeah.
I agree with that, because it is going to create a hardship on some level who's in there.
Right now, I don't remember, I remember looking at the map, but I want to see what we got Pine Brook listed as R1 or AR or Ag.
And Some of those other areas you were talking about.
If you get in that small area, you better watch for feeding lots too. End up with
If you're gonna put in small ag as a use, you gotta define small ag.
a, absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
And there goes our next 3 hours.
Yeah.
I think it's a valid point though.
I do too. When you come up Piney Mountain Road, it's about the third or fourth lot down after you turn that first turn.
Talking about
The
Pine
one,
Road.
you know, if you come down from Piney Mountain Road, that lot you got the pointer on right now, they've got horses in that one and the next one below.
Oh, this is ag.
This is just listed as ag.
But it's a subdivision. so.
Every bit of that's ag, so.
It's already there.
That'd almost be grandfathered in, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but
There you go.
Yep.
Except for this.
Except those two back there in the very back.
Except for this.
And we've got to deal with some of those stray lots that are, just individually zoned. I
Why are
would
those
ask-
two R2?
I would ask permission for staff to go through and identify those lots and keep a record of the changes and change the recommendation, bring that back to you.
We need a
All right.
motion on that?
I'm sorry,
Need a motion on that?
just your consensus, if that's the board's consensus, or the
I would-
commission's
yeah,
consensus.
I would say.
Yeah.
Consent.
Yeah.
sitting here just thinking about the ag and rural ag and the R1 and R2. I think you could actually go back to subdivision ordinance and stipulate which district it's in, is what size lot it is. If it's a 5 acre and larger, it's ag, but if it's a 1 acre lot, that's residential. I mean, you really can't do anything.
I mean, you might have a checkerboard like that, though, it'd be piecemeal, that'd be the only problem. You need consensus of what you're trying to do there, in my opinion. If you're gonna go with the residential and a subdivision, you go with residential, but with the stipulations you're talking about for small agriculture.
Yeah. You might even put a stipulation on the residential, like they do here in the town of Whipple, or they tried to in the town of Whipple. You can have a flock of chickens as long as you don't have a rooster.
On the internet, you have to go from an A1 to an A2, which is called limited agriculture. And it says allows property owners to run hobby farms, raise small livestock, maintain gardens or smaller plots of land while limiting intensive commercial agriculture. And it has to have at least 2 acres and no more than 10, according to the small agricultural zoning.
Well, we went with one agricultural district. So the question would be, do you want to split up into 2 different types of agricultural allowed?
Yeah, that's the one question I had was, there's too many districts.
Can you just add that under the land rights, or like residential with that in a clause and, all the,
Uses by right, you could.
that would be the easiest way without reclassifying it, just add it to the, the rights part of it.
I mean, I know does the town of Whipple have the stipulation on chicken coops? They failed, didn't it? Somebody wanted to have a small flock without a rooster. They could have
Think the,
chickens.
yeah,
Said no, according to this
I
one.
think they're limited on how many they can have too.
I mean, in residential, we could stipulate something like that. You can, a barnyard chicken coop with 6 to 10 hens and no rooster.
I mean, God forbid if Jason wanted to
In my
get some
opinion,
chickens
though,
on
we
that
need to
no
make
hill.
this as easy and streamlined as possible.
Yeah.
Throwing all that stuff and get it complicated. I mean,
We haven't got too hard, one page and,
because, we start taking these lots and start redefining one against the other right beside each other, you're gonna have a mess. That's my opinion.
You're also gonna have a lot of complaints.
But by rights, can we change something for the agriculture, like in the residential part, the small, like R2 or whatever, put it in the by rights?
Yes, you can add
That would be
uses.
the easiest way to do that. Am I understanding that correct?
Yes, sir.
That'd be the way to go.
That's the way I would look
Yes,
at
sir.
it. I mean,
Yeah, I agree.
Cause I'm with him on the, you let people have
I mean, you
little
got,
chickens and.
you have a 1 acre lot, you can have a chicken coop in the backyard, one of them ones you buy from Rural King, and put 6 chickens in it and not hurt anything.
And as it stands now,
They can't do it,
they can't do it, or they would have to come and get a.
have to get a variance, it costs $500. You can buy a lot of eggs at
For $500.
Food City for
Little John Jr. wants him a little pony out back. You know, something
Well.
like that, so.
Well, and that's really the question is, what is small agriculture? You
Yeah.
know, because for me, it may be a couple of horses, you know, for you, it may be 6 chickens.
Well,
How do you define it?
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, common sense will say if you got a 1 acre lot, you can't put a horse on it.
This is government,
Well-
there's no place for common
There's
sense.
no
Uncommon sense may say that. Today's common sense says, yeah, I'd put 4 on there.
Put
Yeah.
him in the house.
Eat it down to the dirt.
Well, and having a horse grazing is a lot different than having a pig lot too, you know, so you really have to.
Well, a horse takes about 5 acres, a cow and a calf takes about 2.
And then you don't want it to be a nuisance either.
Yeah.
And that goes back to feedlots and stuff like that.
So I understand, listen, I understand your point. My take is if I've got a residential, if I've got something residential and I want to put a bunch of chickens on it, what's the problem paying the money to get it to variance? I mean, quite honestly, that's kind of the state, that's kind of the system, right?
Well,
You buy a house or you buy a lot in a subdivision to be in a subdivision. If I decide I want to do something different, I need to apply for variance. It's no different than a family subdivision. If I have property and I want to give some to my son, there may not be a dollar value attached to it, but I've got to go through the process to get it. I mean, I just don't, maybe I'm missing something, but
well. I know-
that is the
I know the
stipulations
town of
to shift
Whipple-
it.
The town here's had complaints over the years not allowing small scale chicken flock, and they finally had enough complaints, they finally added it where they can put them minus a rooster.
I get where you're coming from as far as that part, and I know they're just trying to not restrict people's rights to their property. That's where it comes down to.
Yeah.
Give them as many rights as they can without any infringement on anybody else, but still, if they want to get Toto the pony, they can put Toto the pony out back. But you don't have to come up here and pay $400 to get Toto a permit to do it. That's the point he's making. And like I said, I understand what you're saying too, but I think, you know, whatever we decide to do, let's make it streamlined. I'd go by rights, add it in there, and then define on what a small egg would be. I'm not sure if I'd call it an egg. I mean, I'd come up with some other
It's almost more
terminology.
of a pet.
Yeah, basically a pet clause or something.
You also don't want to create a hardship on the citizens. because
Absolutely.
Our median poverty income is 15.2%, which is higher than the 9.9% across Virginia. And, you know, our median income is under 60,000. So a lot of these people that have chickens or a cow or whatever are living off of that. I mean, they're getting the eggs for their groceries, they're getting the cow for the beef. And we don't want to create that hardship on them either, because they're utilizing that to live on. You know, $500 is a lot of money for some people, because people don't make $30,000 a year. So, you know, Rodney's by rights is probably the easiest streamline. I think that's just me.
Would you like for us to research how other communities define small agriculture and bring that back to you?
In
as far
the
as-
R1 district, kind of look, maybe see what town of Whipple has for their stipulations on a chicken flock or,
Can we bring that back up sometime or other, as far as just seeing those on the by rights for residential? He was asking a question. He wasn't here whenever we done that. and-
I don't know what about, I mean, I don't know what, I know what the by rights are, but I don't know what specifically you all discussed.
under R1. Okay. Bobby. That should be everything I'm trying to think.
There's not many on R1.
Okay. Thank you.
I think we can keep going if you want to, and some of the ones we want to talk about, we can come back and visit them later. That's we think we need to. We're not going to get 2 pages done here.
If that suits the commission, I'll move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Can we verify that we have
We're
that
saying,
covenants
I have that R1,
language in the draft?
and then I have to go to a public hearing to be able to do any of those. Correct? So if we put a by rights on there, they still got to go to a public hearing. That's correct. We just won't cost them a financial. Or come here for a variance.
And you got the covenant.
Come here for variance.
How are you asking about the covenants? Yeah, 1.43, provision of this ordinance shall not be construed to affect, interfere with, or abrogate any condition, covenant, limitation, restriction contained in any deed, contract, or private agreement, blah, 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 blah. That is in there, so what you're looking for.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Hagee's question was about
They should be on your computer.
the R1 or the R2 classification. I'll look at the mapping on that. The next one from Jeff McCrory, asked us to strictly prohibit on all land zoned agricultural or residential any siting, development, or approval of AI data center projects or any related large-scale industrial or alternative energy projects, including but not limited to solar farm or solar array or farms, battery storage facilities, etc. We cannot by law blanket prohibit uses. You can consider moving those to special use, but we do not now, in the draft, include as a use by right data centers or solar or alternative energy projects in agricultural or residential districts. So he's asking us to do what we've already done. Any questions? The next from Sherry Burris is on the land use classification ordinance, and again asked for essentially a blanket moratorium on data centers. We cannot blanket prohibit uses. The next one is from Wade MacArthur with Austinville Limestone. Essentially asked the question about whether the mine use would be grandfathered, and it would unquestionably be grandfathered. As he points out, that business has been around for over 250 years. Yes, clearly it would be grandfathered in. Again, grandfathered is until the use is discontinued for 2 years. So if they were to turn it into some other thing, they would have to go through a rezoning.
So
If it were a non-industrial use.
it's a 2-year time frame
Right.
of things.
Is that standard?
I think that's sort of standard, a 2-year time frame in it.
Yes, that's out-of-state code. The next one is from Barbara Osland about 3 parcels in the Collins Cove subdivision. That's one of those staff will review the map unless you all have feedback on that. Staff would recommend adjusting the map to match the surrounding parcels. The next, and I'm surprised he's not here tonight, is from Andy Kegley. So I'll go through this as quickly as I can. The first is, Mr. Kegley asked that you consider identifying or moving private land holdings with easements into a new subsection 3-7.1, conservation private. And use all land use regulations in such districts are promulgated and dictated by the agency that holds an IRS certified conservation easement in perpetuity. Staff does not recommend accepting that recommendation. Essentially, in our view, it would require that the county rezone every time a new conservation easement is placed. So the question then would become, would the county be able to stop new conservation easements by denying a rezoning? I think that one is probably more than we want to get into, unless you all have opposite direction.
I mean, the way it is right now, they can get the outdoor foundation and get that conservation easement on their property. That's by code, by state, right?
Yes.
I don't think that our county wants to get in that mess and try to dictate what the state, something.
There are localities that have tried to put in ordinances that would restrict implementing a conservation easement until you had county review, or city review, town review, whichever you were located in. There is a little bit of a big brother feel to that. This is land I want to protect in perpetuity, but I have to go to the county and agree to get them to go along with that. Now, granted, there is some very highly desirable developable property in Wythe County that is in permanent conservation easement. Would the county like to have had some say in whether or not those were placed in conservation easement? Probably so, but they've been placed in conservation easement, they're protected now. I don't know that you want to then wind up treating future applicants differently than others have been. We keep track of these on our mapping. They are on our GIS. It is a different layer. You can turn on that layer if you are interested in what's in conservation easement and not. There's also state mapping that shows where those conservation easements are. I don't know that we need to get into showing conservation easements on our zoning map because it gives the weight of that this is a different land use classification, and it's not. It depends on the underlying zoning classification, but then the restrictions that come in on development happen with the conservation easement.
Just makes it more muddy.
It's a lot more muddy.
What is the advantage of the county having a review? For the county, what's the advantage?
Basically, the county would be able to say, we think this is better as developable property rather than as a conservation easement.
Conservation.
So that you can preserve some of that development potential. If that's not
What's
a priority for the
what's the
county.
percentage of victory?
Low.
Yeah.
So why bother?
That's where I live.
I mean, that, right? And odds.
Have you all received any recently? Because I know years ago there were
We
several that
got,
would
we had
come in
one,
like
just recently, a musser that come before here and did it.
Not last month, that's not close.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, the people that are granting the easements want to get planning commission review of what's been proposed out there. And when I say people getting the easement, I mean the Virginia Outdoors Foundation or whatever, not the citizen. Yeah.
And we did have a rep from Virginia Outdoors. Was that April? It was recently.
It was 200-something acres of Mr. Musser. So we
Put it in
done,
conservation.
pretty much all mountain land, I believe.
Up behind his business.
No, different Musser.
from us.
Mr. Hickley's second item is suggesting a split in the industrial districts. One would be industrial public, which would take in your Progress Park, industrial park. One would be industrial district private, so that would be your quarries, your large industrial suitable plots. There aren't a lot of those out there on the map. If you look at the zoning map, most of the large purple plots for industrial are for your mines, with the exception of there's a large one, it's bottomly property behind the state police headquarters.
Behind where?
Behind the state police headquarters. I think it's 12 or 1,400 acres, 2,000 acres.
Yeah.
It's a lot of acreage, but it adjoins Progress Park.
I was going to say,
Which is the reason why we classified it as industrial, because it can continue to be farmed, but long-term, the use may be better off as industrial. There have been industrial uses proposed on that property, so that's one of those we spent a fair amount of staff time just discussing, how do we classify this?
Well, if that's classified as industrial, would that slow that, put it in like a conservative easement that y'all was talking about a while ago, would that slow that part down? Would that change anything if this thing would get in effect and it be an industrial classification?
If this went into effect, it would be industrial. You could still put a conservation
Okay,
easement on it.
that's my question.
It is unlikely that that would happen, but, you never know.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, someone with a pile of money would come by it, go, well, I want to have a conservation easement. They could do that.
just got to ask for it, right?
That's right. The Outdoor Foundation.
So is there any guidance? Do you all want to see a split in industrial to separate? I think Mr. Kegley's point is that the Progress Park has its own set of covenants and restrictions on how those properties are divided and set up. Is there that big a need that we need to divide?
I think just leave it as one.
Say again?
I think just leave it as one, industrial or not, in my opinion.
I agree.
That's two of you.
I agree with that too.
Sure. Yeah, I got that.
That's complicated.
Yeah.
All right, I counted 4, so
I agree.
Concur.
Do you have an opinion, Matt?
staff is split. Stephen and I arm wrestled and it was a draw.
And I sit back and watch.
We don't have to say who feels
I don't
which
think there's a
way.
wrong answer either way in the process.
What would be the pro to splitting it out?
Well, you could put a line item in the ordinance stating that the county industrial parks have additional covenants.
What would be the benefits of having these?
What are we missing? What are we not thinking through?
Because I know.
I'm having trouble coming up with a good reason.
The other thing would be along the lines of what Mr. Kegley said. If you wanted to have certain uses in your industrial park permitted by right, because that's what the industrial park is permitted for, then you have a private one. So you put our 1,200 industrial park in there, those uses are permitted by right. If you have an industrial park or other areas that like Bottomley you're talking about or somewhere else, then you could have those uses being by special use permit or things like that in the process. That's the only difference. I think what Rodney said to me is what I think is key. Keep it simple. And that's, I say that quite often. Keep it as one industrial district, keeps it simple.
What would be some of the examples of a separate use.
Well, Mr. Kelly's example was a data center.
Right.
In Progress Park, you're in the middle of nowhere per se in the process. His example was if you allow data centers by right in the industrial park, because that's where they're going, that's fine. If you require a special use permit in industrial private, then, if it's anywhere else,
Okay.
David Metcalf sells his land and wants to have an industrial over there or whatever for data center, it goes to, special use permit,
Right.
things like that. So, that was just, his example, which made some sense in the process. But it doesn't hurt anything to have one industrial district if it's a use. And data centers are a special use permit. Even in the industrial park, it still would go through special use permit.
Right. Okay. Yeah, remain where I am. Just leave it.
So, but right now, isn't it, if we're an industrial park, it's by right,
That's
right?
about right, yeah.
There's no,
if we were trying to not have a data center go right there where we're talking about, behind the state police headquarters, there's more teeth to our argument if we had two separate industrial
or,
zoned areas.
or if you leave it alone and put that as a special use.
Yeah, special use, that's what I
I think we need to have a call center, data processing center, solar farm, nuclear, wind, whatever. It needs to be a special use permit, period.
I agree with that.
Because everybody-
All energy.
Anything like that, because I put it in mine that I sent in there to you all. Anything like that needs to have citizens input because, and y'all know, because I fuss about this constantly, a 900-acre solar farm behind me is a nightmare. I have nothing but noise constantly, and you don't want to do that to the other residents. You don't want to do that to your county residents. You don't want it in your backyard, and you don't want this data center in some place that has, because there's studies showing that these data centers are creating issues with low birth, no birth in livestock and animals. So what's it going to do to you, your kids, or your grandkids if it's right up beside of you? So I think all that needs to be a special use permit.
I agree with it all the way across the board on that part of it, because
Well, I think
East
we need
Smith
to.
County, right from I walk out my door, if I didn't have the trees up, eventually I might see the data center complex of the world.
And when I made my comment, I was making my comment with the assumption that I expected that to be what you all said. Even the people that have data centers, that love data centers, say, make it a special use permit.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think we should go with what Susan said as far as including the other things that have caused heartburn. Because I know how I voted because we didn't have anything that said otherwise, for like solar farm, for example.
And I think
But it doesn't mean we shouldn't have had it as a special use to have the input.
I think we need to take you out of the 351 uses permitted by right in an industrial district and make that a special exception, because that's call center and our data process is permitted by right. I think we need to take that out and have that. But it is special exceptions. And that's just because I've lived it and I don't want anybody else to live it. And I can tell y'all in the classes that I just had with the Planning Commission, there were people moving out of Northern Virginia because of the data centers encroaching on them because of the issues they were having with them. And that's a big deal. That's a big talking point right now. And they were talking about how much it affected their electricity and their water resources that they didn't have, and they were still coming in. So I really think that's something we have to look at with our water uses because, you know, we're already in a drought. We already have low water uses. Governor Steinberger just put that up today to limit water uses and things. So I really think we have to be good stewards of our resources. And I'm sorry, it's something I'm passionate about, so.
That's fine.
So I heard so far 3 voices say move data centers out of industrial or out of use by right in industrial and commercial districts, move them to special use permit. I've heard three voices say that.
I agree with that too.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So have one industrial zone, but all energy, applications would be special.
Whatever Susan said there a while ago, you want to repeat that now?
Am I understanding that right?
Okay.
Am I understanding that right? Keep one
That's the way I've taken it,
so you
yes.
can Make all of them
Like
special use.
Any
Okay.
green energy or anything like that?
Yeah.
So what I said for mine was data, nuclear, solar, wind, trash incinerators, battery, methadone clinics, any of that stuff needs to have special use.
I was gonna say, make sure we get battery too, because that's coming bigger and bigger.
That's coming next, yeah. And your CBD dispensaries, we talked about that too.
And your what?
CBD dispensaries need to have a special use permit.
All right, the fourth thing that Mr. Kegley suggests is on the FEMA floodplain designation. He asked why not delineate those floodplain boundaries on the zoning map? The same goes for the airport safety district. Staff again disagrees with the recommendation. FEMA controls the floodplain designation. They're the ones that draft those maps. They get sent out to the localities for approval every 10 years. It is not up to us. There will be changes, the next time they send those out because of, the damage that Hurricane Helene did. We don't want to have to change the zoning map every time that we do the floodplain map. It's a duplicate process. We have to review floodplains and sign off on those every time there's a change. We don't need to also do it for zoning, so.
Well, and if, just like the other thing, if it's on our map, it muddies it up because it makes it look like we're deciding that you're in a floodplain and need extra insurance. I think it's more confusing to add it than to.
The same for the airport safety district, that's determined by the FAA, and it's generally pretty set unless there's a change in the alignment of the runway or a change in the type of aircraft that are able to land at the airport, or a new airport gets built somewhere in the county. Those would all be instances where we would want to review it, but you don't necessarily want to have to show that on your zoning map and go through a set of public hearings every time you see a change there.
Is that already on our GIS map?
Yes, sir. We show it.
It's relatively detailed, but you want to see what? Okay.
It's just a layer on the map. Any questions about Mr. Kegley's?
Well,
Questions?
he also mentioned the commercial districts for data centers.
Yes, sir, and I put that in my notes, commercial and industrial. Next was the first from Chris Humberger. I think there are two or three in here from Chris. How much of the county is designated for data centers by right? And explain why there would be no public hearing on those. Well, you just changed that, so we'll consider that one moot. How Senate Bill 347 will eliminate our ability to block or even restrict solar farms. That too is moot. It was legislatively weakened to a state reporting requirement. It's not a land use requirement. How everyone within 1,000 feet of any interstate will require special use permits for anything. Instead of putting a 1,000-foot corridor on the interstate, why not put a circle around the exits? So here's where we're looking to you to offer your direction. Staff recommends at least keeping the 1,000-foot corridor between mile markers 73 and 81, as well as 1,000 feet from the center point of exits 60, 66, 84, 86, and 24.
But 60,
60 is partially inside the town limits of Rural Retreat.
Do we have that we have that mapped out?
We do not. We were going to get your direction. So if you want us to
So
produce that map.
would you mind to explain that again, please?
As drafted in the language, it's a transportation, now I forget my language. Transportation overlay that protects that interstate corridor. It's 1,000 feet from the center line either side.
Right.
Of the interstate running throughout the
Both
county.
directions, right? Center line.
Both 77 and 81, both directions. So there's been some pushback on that. Some folks, particularly as you go from exit 70, toward the west. And
70 is which one?
With Walmart, exit Walmart. So as you go from there toward the west, outside the town limits, some concerns about restrictions on development there. The idea is to protect, certainly the visual appeal of the county, as you see development and redevelopment occur along that corridor. There were some suggestions made as part of our public conversations to just keep that between Wythe and Fort Chiswell. I don't think staff minds that. That's really where you're going to have the most conflicts anyway.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. From town limits to the rural retreat, Whipple town limits to the rural retreat town limits, highly unlikely that they're going to make it a 4-lane highway each way, but from exit 70 to,
Well, it's less about development, less about highway and transportation development than it is about large-scale development. So, if you were to have a data center or a solar farm locate within that, you see that, driving up 81, you'll see some of those large solar farms directly right up against the interstate. And so the question is that a value that you want to have?
yeah, I'm thinking more about from exit 73 to exit 80 or 81, VDOT coming in and wanting to add on extra 2 lanes each way, and that's going to cause all kinds of trouble.
It's already plans out there.
Yeah, there's
I mean,
plans out there right now.
Studies.
So,
It really wouldn't affect the
81,
transportation.
upgrades.
Where at?
Transportation
VDOT.
corridor there.
No, I mean, what area?
The whole thing.
I don't go by exit, so.
Whiffle down to,
Talk to them about that.
exit 81, be
Get
67.
concerned about that 1,000 feet special.
To widen it even more?
I'm thinking more lines of
Oh,
the
what is it
business
gonna do the roundabouts?
locating along that corridor down there, and here 5 years down the road, VDOT comes in saying, I'm gonna put a road right through it, and you're gonna have to,
But your zoning ordinance does not affect that.
No.
If VDOT comes through, they come through. So that's not, that doesn't have anything with the corridor. This is what you want to control within that.
You'd rather have
Now,
businesses coming down there instead of, like a major subdivision like in Christiansburg, Roger Woodyville, where you've got 700 houses or duplexes down there. You're more
Nothing
looking
but
at a
wall.
commercial for a Hardee's, Chick-fil-A and stuff of that nature, if I'm understanding right.
Or a block wall.
Well, I mean, with the Hitachi Center that way, I mean, the interstate looks way different exit 60 to 70 than it does 70 to 80. And I would think you would want to encourage the development around the Hitachi Center, so I don't see an issue with just making it a circle around the exit in some areas and keeping 1,000 foot in others. I mean, can we
You could change it to 1,000 foot
Radius.
around the center point of each interchange, and not have to do the whole corridor between 73 and 81. I think it offers you more protection if you do the whole corridor, at least in that section where 77 and 81 run together outside of town limits.
So they stopped at the, say Shoney's, but the one on the east end of town, right? 70? Is that where it stops? Or not 70, but 80.
80's Fort Chiswell.
80's Fort Chiswell.
So from Walmart all the way through to Fort Chiswell, is what you're saying?
Well, you wouldn't even take in the Walmart from 73. the Wolford House, area. You know,
Yeah, that's
if you
what I
get-
was saying, the
Reed Creek, Mark
70s,
4 Honda's where you'd start. Town limits are at Reed Creek.
right?
So from Reed Creek up until the exit where 77 breaks off, I think that's the area that he's talking about.
I mean, that area, I've already wrote that off as commercialization.
So you said Mark 4 Honda to basically,
That's
Where 77
where 77 breaks
Yeah.
off.
Pretty much right there where they're putting where Linden's putting buildings anyway.
Yeah.
Where Hall Propane is now, and it's that same strip, so,
Mark 4 to the outlet mall.
There you go.
mark for what?
To the outlet.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
Mall. It doesn't exist, but
they go, well, they even pulled the concrete slab up. Would, do you have all the intersections in the county marked in this? As far as, you've got the whole interstate corridor marked in this 1,000-foot protection.
We do.
So you take that out from Fort Hill down, could you keep the interchanges in some type of structure?
Yeah, you-
1,000-foot,
you-
the whole intersection?
Right, you could
But you're
do-
gonna have development, especially if that end gets what they're planning on getting down that way, or?
The question is, you know, how it develops and how much say you've got in it. You know,
So with the
as many
quarter,
people as want a Chick-fil-A or a Buc-ee's. If they were to come into an area where it's going to make traffic that much worse anyway, should the public have some say
Exactly.
in how that develops?
And that's where it would be if it's gonna be out there in the middle, off the interstate, is on intersections. And that would include what Papa King, all the, you know, all the exits in the county.
Well, I agree with what Stephen said, have 1,000-foot corridor from the east Whitfield town limits at Reed Creek to exit 81, and a circle around exit 24 on 77 and 86 and 84.
60.
Well, most of 60 is in the
60's in
town.
town. That's right, it is in town.
what's that?
Road Tree exit, it's all in the town, half of it.
67 is a half exit. It's in the county. What are your thoughts on it? When I say a half exit, you can only get off going north and you can only get on going south.
I
That
think-
could be changed, though.
Yeah, it could be, but
I still think it should
Yeah,
fall in
yeah.
there
Yeah.
in case
Been there for
VDOT does
50
make it a full exit. Don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
For 35 years old.
like I said, make it easier.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Things is, you know.
Actually, I think
Yep.
I was in high school.
I'm a little bit older than you. I remember when the damn road was built. I helped build it.
I remember when 77 was built, so I remember.
I was talking about exit 67.
What about exit 67?
Did you say it's been there 50 years?
50 years.
I don't think it has.
So,
That's no.
to the best of my hearing, I heard consensus for a 1,000-foot corridor from Whitfield town limits to marker 81, and then 1,000 feet around the interchanges at 24, 67, 84, and 86, and 60.
I agree.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Next question was, what are the current options for proposed zoning? Can the Board of Supervisors make changes, or would it have to go back to the Planning Commission? Well, here we are. Then explain how Virginia law limits the locations of cannabis retail and how the proposed zoning differs. We are still waiting legislative final approval and state regulatory structure on that. So I cannot explain that. Explain the difference between land use classification and zoning. I can't because there are none. Animal shelters less than 16 square feet in area don't require a zoning permit. So if I build a chicken coop, will I need a zoning permit? If the chicken coop is less than 16 square feet, no, there would not be a zoning permit required. However, that was intended for dog houses. And then number 8 on that, I would have to defer that to the building inspector. I don't work day to day on the building permit fees.
Well, if it's ag, they don't get a building permit. So would they get a zoning permit?
Yes.
I think that was a lot of big,
So you're saying right now, if someone puts a building, a barn up or something, an ag zone, there's no fee?
there's no fee for a building permit, but you would have to have a zoning permit.
Okay.
And if the board wanted to, they could exempt barns from that, from the zoning permit fee. If it's exempt from a building permit fee, they could also make it exempt from the zoning.
Why would you exempt one, not the other?
It's up to the board to make that decision.
I'm just, throwing a question out there.
If you just put a,
That was their question.
you just put a barn up to store hay in it, there's no power, water, sewer, nothing like that, just a structure.
So do we have to make that
Different than something that has all those.
Well, see, anything you put on agricultural, you can get unless an agriculture exempt it, to not have to get a building.
Yeah.
No matter whether you put power in it or not.
So if we have to make that recommendation to the board, I'm going to say if we're not doing a field building permit, then they shouldn't have to have a zoning permit.
Second.
I agree with that too.
So do I.
Concur.
Yep.
Next question was from Kevin Fox. I think he probably talked to most of you, at least at Rural Retreat. He says section 511, manufactured homes have non-conforming features. Manufactured home, which is an allowed use and has non-conforming features, may be replaced within 90 days, provided the replacement home does not increase the degree or extent of non-conforming features, except as provided in section 5.6. This section shall not apply to or restrict the replacement of a manufactured home within an existing manufactured home park, provided such replacement complies with section 5-3.3. Staff generally agrees with the requested language. He pointed out that if you own a manufactured home park and somebody takes their mobile home that they own out of that park, and it then opens up a space for somebody to bring a new one in, if it takes longer than that 90 days to get a new tenant in, then it could be considered to be a violation of the zoning ordinance. So generally, we're in agreement that we don't want to create a hardship for those property owners.
If it's already been one there, that's nothing. Yeah.
So extend it past 90 days or take that out?
I believe the request is to keep it at the 2-year limit for being grandfathered. Was that your recollection, Lisa?
Yeah.
So what now? So if somebody has a park and a homeowner removes their mobile home, the owner of the park has 90 days to put one back?
Correct.
Yeah, as of now.
What, I talked to him at the meeting, and what he's saying is that he's trying to make his mobile home park nicer.
Right.
And that if someone takes an old one out, it may take him longer than 90 days to put a nicer one
Right.
back. And that he felt like that he would continuously be out of
Rent money. Certainly, if you're going to have a new one constructed, 90 days is probably not realistic.
So what do we propose? What are we proposing?
2 years.
2 years, just like the other one, I'd say.
The 2-year grandfathering, I think, is
Okay.
acceptable.
That stays in line with the other.
Certainly less for us to keep track of.
Yeah. That's ample time to get one built.
Yeah.
Streamlined.
You would think.
I hope so.
You would think.
Yes, sir.
Next one, Samuel Crockett Jr., Peppers Ferry Road. The Crockett family's been farming here for over 100 years. We would like this land, parcels 2640 and 2640A, to be zoned agricultural. Staff generally agrees with the requested mapping change. Any issues?
Nope.
so y'all did that. Y'all already made those changes.
We will.
Okay. Check off.
As long as you all are okay.
Hell, I ain't got a map in front of me, but yeah, I'll take a man's word for it.
Yep.
Second one from Wade MacArthur. He brought up House Bill 711, which was the House cognate to Senate Bill 347, which we talked about earlier. That's the one that would have required that we do solar if it was proposed. Now it's just a reporting requirement. If we turn down solar, we have to tell the state we turned down solar. So not really a question that survives there. Next one is from Aaron Brady at Lamar Advertising of Roanoke. Regarding off-premise signs, billboards, Lamar owns and operates a couple of those signs in Wythe County. How will the proposal affect the existing signs and the potential construction of new billboards? I do not see any mention of signage in general, particularly billboard signs. As this draft is written, just not go that in-depth yet. And he brings up a good point. I don't think we really did do much with signage. Would you like for us to go back and draft something related to signage?
I think you should,
It
because
probably needs to be looked at.
And
Yeah.
where would we,
I'm glad you brought it to our attention.
do we need a limit to where they're gonna be put?
Or you can limit the size of it. I mean, a lot of things you can do with signage.
As long as it's not blocking some neighbor's views, whatever.
Mr. Hankins, I would recommend also getting, VDOT's got some pretty strict regulations on billboard signage along interstate now. That's why we don't have a lot of new
Yeah.
billboard signage. The signage that does exist is there on the
cross Mark 4.
Cross Mark 4 on the
Bowman.
Bowen's property.
Yeah.
Now, that was in the town limits.
Yeah, that's
And
town
so
limits.
they were able to lease that to whatever there is, 12 or 14 signs down through there because of something dealing with town regulations and signage.
That's a boatload.
But-
I was gonna say, is VDOT strict enough that we could reference them? Or is it,
That would be the simplest reference for
I
us.
mean, to me, yeah, if you've got a controlling entity already,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rules, regulations.
For
I
VDOT.
mean, because if we draft something, we get into any kind of conflict, that creates more time and waste of money for the county, so.
Right.
Do we also don't want to look about certain areas?
You can tell us what it is next time or something. Tell us what the regulations are for VDOT, and then
Yeah,
we'll look.
that's what I'd recommend is let me bring those regulations
Yeah.
to you and we can have
Yeah.
that discussion.
Then we, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why I still have
Yeah.
areas like residential, do we want to have a special use permits for those? We have to.
And really, if you take that Bowman land off, there's not that many billboards in Wythe County going up and down the interstate. There's really not. And the ones that are up on a hill next to damn crosses. So that's just what I've observed.
I think we let you bring us back some more.
Well, are those ones that are on Route 11, are those in town limits?
No.
Which,
Outside of
Right, yeah, if you're coming from a retreat,
In the
It's
dead
county.
curve,
Yeah.
that's Whitfield.
that is what Bill.
Yeah, I mean,
there are a few before you get to Reed Creek Bridge that are in the county.
Yeah.
Got some rural trees, there are a few there.
Yeah, there's two on the right.
There are some in rural retreat before you get off the exit also.
Well, we can see what VDOT says, and then we can
Yeah.
add to maybe like, residential areas or whatever.
subdivisions, whatever's along the interstate there.
The next one is from Dale Umberger, Queens Knob Road in Wytheville. Ask about property that he has. His property is intended to be zoned commercial. It has 12 acres. It's got space for truck parking along with a couple of 6,000 square foot buildings used as warehouses. It says there's no category that relates to his property. I would classify it as mini warehouse, which is in our uses by right, I believe, for that zoning district. So unless you all have a question about that one, I think I would consider it answered.
Have you contacted him and told him that?
I have emailed several of these back.
I just was curious that maybe that eased his mind.
Next one comes from Charles Craig and Hunter Blair. I talked to them probably for 15 or 20 minutes at the Wythe public input session. I'll go through these, I think, fairly quickly. Has the board spoken with the General Assembly to seek narrower state authorization targeted toward solar farms and data centers before proposing countywide zoning? It's really not a whole lot we can ask for from the General Assembly on that. What level of public opposition would cause this movement to fail? I can never tell you how 7 people at the front of the room are going to vote, nor would I want to. All I can do is provide you with the information, in my opinion, and let you act accordingly.
Fair enough.
Any legal guarantee to keep light touch? So far, just intent. Can't bind future boards. If they want to make changes, they get to make changes. If they want to have more heavy-handed zoning, they could certainly tip that way. What has caused this ordinance to fail in the past?
Don't know.
I'm not giving a history lesson. Question about grandfathering. Who dictates and records what was present to be grandfathered in? We have pretty extensive tax records. We know what was there and approximately when. So, we would rely on those records that are in the custody of the county and the Commissioner of the Revenue's office. How does the board intend to enforce the following of zoning? Typically, that would be through your zoning administrator, whoever you name to that position. The planning commission will have a role in upholding the zoning ordinance. If there were zoning complaints, they would either come before this board, or if this board acted in a way that folks didn't like, before the Board of Zoning Appeals.
I'm assuming fines are incurred, like if you just did something that,
I'm sorry.
if you just did something you weren't supposed to do, fines?
Fine. If you built something that you weren't supposed to build, the building inspector has the legal authority to require that you tear it down.
Yeah.
But
And start all over again.
certainly the lack of a zoning authorization for that would be support for the building inspector going through his processes.
Well, that's already in effect now, isn't it? A little bit?
Except for the zoning part, yes, sir.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Does this give permission to trespass to ensure following of zoning?
I mean, a county
I
employee.
say no.
It's like all probable cause. If there
Because
is,
you're in common sense.
if there is something that I can see from the road, plainly in sight, and it is my duty to enforce it, then yes, I can go on your property to enforce it. Whether or not it's trespassing at that point is for somebody in a black robe to figure out. What percent of Wythe County is data center suitable? I didn't calculate percentage. It would be just where you all now have said that we are going to allow them as a special use. So I wouldn't calculate that. If agricultural land is most suitable for data centers and solar farms, can farmers self-zone instead of forcing the government's hand? Theoretically, yes, you have the agricultural and forestal districts,
I've already got
Put
mine.
band together and go that route. Is it likely to happen? If it was likely to happen, it probably already has happened.
And it's just as, like the farmer self-zone, he can refuse to sell his property.
Yes.
Or lease or anything else.
The observation from Lisa Schill is not a question, it's about data centers. Question from Miriam Beckwith, or multiple questions. This, some of you all may have talked to this couple, I believe this was at the Chisel meeting, the first public input session we had. They're at 1900 Miller's Creek Road, so they're further up Miller's Creek. Is our land going to be potentially zoned as agricultural or conservation recreation? It looks like the map, looks from the map to be close to the border between those two zones. I can review the zoning and see.
Are they the ones that bought Joe Hill's property?
I'm not sure which property they bought.
I just was curious. I just know new ownership there that bought.
Yeah. I think actually it may be.
I just was curious. And his property was already in conservation easement.
It was. Oh, well, not all of it. The back part was. The front part wasn't.
Well, I know you had to buy some piece of property from Miss Hale to put a house on, because there was nothing there close to that wasn't already under conservation easement. I know that for a fact.
They didn't have an access to it's a problem.
Okay.
Joe put 300 foot in the front, not in conservation easement, he put what was in the back.
Okay.
And a conservation easement, and I think they like had to subdivide what she had in front and either give a lot or something.
They bought something to put a house in. I do know that part. But what it was is that they couldn't do it. So this may be them.
Is that it, Lisa?
This is what, the one that we're talking, that's on the,
The wrong side of the road.
in the question here with this.
Okay. Their land butts up against ours and top the mountain. If that's the backside.
In question,
Mhm.
that Joe Hills is on.
Yeah. I don't know where they bought from or where. I just know that some of that one.
I'm not mistaken.
It should be a big section, I would think, yeah.
Get off your damn phone.
So their question was, are short-term rentals going to be allowed in either of these zones? I believe they are allowed in agricultural.
Short-term rentals? Meaning,
Verbo.
Airbnb.
Airbnb.
Verbo.
Small
I mean,
house
whatever.
or something.
Following related question, are tiny homes on wheels allowed as dwellings or rentals? Generally, I would think so in conservation districts. The building inspector might disagree with me. Is open camping or private campsites allowed in these zones? Yes. Would you consider this camping short-term rental commercial activity or not? Yes, it is commercial activity.
Anything zoned, or anything under outdoor foundation, you'd have to get their permission to do something. Because they dictate what you can and can't do. If I'm not correct. What?
To an extent.
Conservation easement?
If you got a conservation easement, if you want to put those tiny houses or whatever on it, you have to contact Outdoor Foundation
I don't think
to be able to do anything.
I think
There's-
they're on one structure.
Yeah, they
just
don't,
one living structure, right?
they're, I mean, whatever they decide, I mean, if it's ag stuff, you can probably put an ag building and those kind of things, but any kind of home structures, different story.
I think it's one single-family home.
Very well could be.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
But this property is not in conservation
Okay.
easement, so. Then will our short-term rental venture be grandfathered in? Generally, yes. If it's in existence before the zoning ordinance is passed, it'll be grandfathered in. From Whispering Pines Road, did you give any consideration to neighboring properties? Whispering Pines neighborhood, when zoning adjacent land commercial, we don't want construction and traffic, et cetera, in our backyard. Our entire community approximately 60 homes, as opposed to the surrounding adjacent farmland being zoned commercial. Well, staff tried to minimize conflicts when we were coming up with how to zone. This one was difficult because this area already has a commercial campground, it has an AEP laydown yard, it has a Head Start, a Family Dollar, all adjoining or adjacent to properties here in the neighborhood. There's a lot of adjoining
And a
commercial.
school right over the hill.
Yeah, so there's a lot, plus the shopping center just up the road. You know, the truck stops over the hill, you know, interstate truck stop signs visible within lines of sight.
It pretty much is what it is right now.
Well, it could bring commercial activity closer, and I think that's the point.
That's what they're saying.
If the farmland is zoned.
Closer,
If the farmland next to it is zoned commercial. Right now it's.
up the holler toward, the
along
mall?
Toward Dublin.
Back toward the interstate.
Yeah.
Farm
East
right
of it.
behind the
Oh, yeah.
Portillo Mansion.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And like I said, it's nothing in there now, but, you know.
Yeah, it could be.
It is a farm, because you
Yeah.
got G&J on one side and you got Heart and Ball and Music on the other going up through there.
Who?
Heart and Ball and Music.
Yeah.
You've got a 1,000-foot barrier, you know, the offset for the interstate on the commercial, right? From what we was talking about a while ago for the transportation
It won't go
safety.
that far down.
So what did you tell them that?
I haven't. I just took this as a comment, so. That's an area where, you know, I'll need your guidance on, you know, where should commercial end and residential.
Couldn't you just keep what's agriculture
I was
right
gonna
now
say-
and leave whatever's commercial, make it commercial, and then you've got that 1,000-foot buffer on each side all the way to that exit.
Define it as it is now?
You got it to the exit, you don't have it going down the 77 side.
Well, maybe
Also,
next.
that public water runs all the way, turn water, I won't give that on there. Basically, on the south side of those parcels that you see on the north, there's a public water line that runs all the way through there that goes up to the outlet mall road. So there is public water running out that far.
Well, by making it agriculture, the reason I was asking, if something goes in there as far as commercial, they'd have to come and get a special use of variance.
Special use rezone.
So they would have their time to say, their day, you know, to say what's on their mind, you know,
They being the
the
residents?
residents of that
Yeah.
community. The way it is right now, it's commercial, they would.
So they're concerned about 44, 14, 13, correct?
14 and all that to the right.
13,
down.
16, 30, 31.
Yeah, all that back.
Yeah, all that there.
All that.
All that.
So the musics and balls
They're,
and,
they're concerned about all of this.
Coming down through the trailer park there.
This is one of the difficult ones, because
It
this
is.
gets into where do you all want to see growth? And
Yeah.
this is one more where you plan, and not just how public water is there. I mean, there was discussion many years ago about when everybody was concerned about the access to the outlet mall. The easiest way to put a new access to the outlet mall, the easiest really term here, is coming out, because where that water line is running through there is a 50-foot right of way that's already through there. That's why all those lots are subdivided off of it. So the question was, do you run a new road all the way through there up to the outlet mall? You know, I'll use for those of you who have gone to Buc-ee's in Sevierville, and that's just, you don't get into Buc-ee's right off the exit. You got to travel down, and then you turn and come up to it. So I'm not saying that's Buc-ee's, but, that's the type of thing. What is, for the residences there, I understand that. Like I said, it's a lay-down yard, it's a commercial things, but all the way up to the outlet mall, is that always going to be agriculture, or is that an area that you all think would be good for commercial development?
How many landowners are behind that Whispering Pines?
Several. But it's mostly Heart and Ball. that
Heart and
has
balls
a
primarily.
Portion
Yeah.
of it.
You don't have about 2 houses, 3 houses there.
I agree with Rodney, though. I think leave it agricultural, and then if they decide they want commercial, then they come before us, and the residents get say.
They will have a say. When you look at where the mall's at, and on Stevens Park, you know, you've already got it set up for commercial already. You've got all the utilities and everything you need in that corridor right there. What you've had is commercial. Those outliers that he's talking about, yeah, you could add those in commercial, but, you know, you'd be a lot less than what it would look like when we had it to meet. And I think that would probably make it easier on this to go through and would give them a chance and a voice to say, hey, we're not
It's a
interested.
mall. A lot of the music's there,
Malvern.
Okay.
There's the mall.
yeah.
All right.
There's one line already
And
there.
the Randall Jewels
Yeah.
property.
Well, that was,
So,
Mr.
there's the
Maker
mall,
Road Tree must have
and
thought of
there's
that.
Whispering Pines. All
Right.
this is commercial.
What?
All of it.
All commercial, that's all.
We have two supplies down the way.
What?
You're saying keep making all
That's
this
the dumbest thing ever.
agricultural?
You know,
Let's see, here's
All that's
commercial.
Yeah.
what was that, 35 years ago? Oh,
Everything
when
that's
they
in the
put
middle,
that-
there it's not
That
commercial.
interstate started down that
Except
way.
that corridor down there, because that 1,000 foot, and I would take that corridor all the way past that a little bit. We was talking about that interchange right there, you need to allow for that,
Huh?
you know,
Yeah.
change some of that Whispering Pines and stuff to have a little buffer there, but you gotta be careful with buffers, because you don't wanna set a precedent on that. And then if you got a business, cause you got a business and everything, somebody's house, and then you got someone, here it says you gotta have a buffer, so then you're gonna start, I
Mall,
wouldn't
that had to
even
be
classify
really
anything like a
genius.
buffer, you don't want.
I mean, you
Here's
could,
the other thing, is if you
That's
put
about the
this
biggest slop Wythe County ever had.
and then have it rezoned.
Right,
Yep.
that's my point right there.
yeah, because the only natural break would be the Meadowbrook Lane, right?
That's right.
And then you're kind of telling somebody what they can do with their property, because,
Well, it's-
yeah. I think, in my opinion, is leave it as it is today and let them come in and apply for variance. Because we know, is there anything on VDOT around that? Because they've already got the road beds in on the southeast side of the mall, where they initially have planned to put the road, put the exits, right?
That was a rest area proposed.
Yeah, the rest-
That was never an exit design there.
It wasn't exits, it was rest area?
They had two, one on each side. They just. Yep,
Bottomly on the other side, both of those were rest areas. They ended up in Blaine County instead of Whitman.
So, I mean, we can assume that at some point that area will be developed. If there, but there's going to, I think it's the same thing as it was with the mall. If you don't do a different access to it,
It'll die.
it sucks.
It'll die
I
like
mean,
it did.
yeah, yeah.
Slow growth,
So,
slow death.
you know, you got a lot of work that's got to be taken, that's got to take place to really make that mall area usable commercially. Now, that's not to say it can't happen, but for our sake, I think it's easier to just make it zoned agricultural for now, since it already is. and
What
move
is,
forward.
what is the
Well,
old
that question
old
could be
thing?
moved.
It's always zoned something different,
I'm
isn't it?
sorry?
The outlet mall, what is it zoned? Commercial.
It's commercial.
It's all commercial, yeah.
I mean, you ought to leave it where it's at and leave the rest of it
That's
ag.
all commercial right there.
Yeah.
The question could be mooted before the zoning ordinance were to go into effect. You know, the property is owned by the Worth Carter Estate. They've got it up for sale. Somebody could buy it, develop it, and be done before we get a zoning ordinance.
You mean the property at the mall?
Yes.
But that's just those two areas, right?
Yes. Doesn't
So
make it
that's
all-
already commercial. I mean,
Well, you got like 4 lots right there.
you could leave those commercial, right?
I would leave a corridor down through there, going back towards Fort Chilton.
Leave that commercial?
Leave all that on the edge of it commercial. And you're gonna have some down there next to it, like the campground would be classified as commercial, right?
So you're talking about like everything on the other side of Meadowbrook here, commercial?
No, more like up there where those small lots run.
The lots that run
From the
there.
mall, from the mall down through,
Right down along the road,
along the road.
Toward the graveyard up there.
And change all of this.
back to
to
ag.
agriculture.
Back to agricultural.
Cool.
All right, that's what I did.
That way you put no rules for like having, you know, areas of, you know, boundaries that you have to be certain in distance away from a residential area and all that stuff. Because you start doing, I think gets back out of that neat little, language we try to, you know, say, make it streamlined, make it easy.
And like I say, always come back and rezone it.
And they would have a chance to voice their concern, and they give them an opportunity to say, no, we don't want this. And if, you know, enough people says they don't, they change what,
Except for this RV park, you'll have to stay.
well, those
Yes.
have to stay
Yeah.
commercial. And they,
Yeah.
All right, I think I understand consensus on that.
Weren't you yet?
So if it's currently part of an agricultural
That'd be a rude
process
Operation.
or operation,
dumbass.
rezone it to agricultural. If it's currently commercial and being utilized as such, or along the road frontage, that's easy development, leave it as such.
Yeah.
Well, and I have commercial all the way through the RV park. Should I also include the laydown yard?
Yes,
Commercial.
because it's basically that now, right?
Yeah. Whatever's using now.
It's a bunch of, I know we gotta have it, but it's a bunch of ugly mess.
You see that every day. You do.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing down in Max Meadows at the, below the,
blow mine,
yeah.
right there on Fort County line.
Move on.
And I told you I don't like to guess how 7 people are going to vote. However, I think the easiest slam dunk of the night, same quote, same question from, I think it's Chris Kadir and Dennis Castle on Lover's Lane, asking if their properties show as agricultural, not as commercial. I recommend that you authorize that change to the map.
I do.
Agree.
Bingo.
Yes, sir.
Wow, that was fast.
Yeah.
It's only because you came out 3 meetings, right?
Dennis did, I think. Yeah, Dennis did, I
I see you in Virginia.
think. He wouldn't know if you changed it yet.
He knew exactly who it was too.
Okay.
Mary Kinder asked about map number 51-21A in the Black Lake District. There's a house and a single wide on the property. Hay gets made on this property. Do we need to change some of these to ag?
So, these are shown as R2. And this is her question, is these are all ag? And of course, she's right up against these little residential lots, but hers, herself, says, she says it gets used as ag.
Isn't that's not in town?
Just outside.
Oh, okay.
Where's that at?
Retreat.
I don't know, because right now, well, right,
What road's that off of? I asked that question.
Chinkapin, it's relative to
Chinkapin Avenue, right
Chinkapin.
there, Southwestern Equipment.
It's in Pumpkins now.
So all this is pumpkins, it's all leased by Bottomley
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Pumpkins and corn.
Trying to get that off.
The big things is all pumpkins are.
The ones across Route 11
That's
are
that house and single
agricultural.
wide.
If you wanted
That's most of
to
rural tree.
rezone or change that zoning from the R2 to ag, I think that's,
What?
perfectly fine. The smaller lots, I would recommend leaving
Wait a
in
second.
R2, because most of them
House,
are
single
residential,
wide,
more suited to
house.
residential.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Agree.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and
And those big ones like that's already in pumpkins, it's in.
her
it's
exact
ag.
wording was some.
Are we getting down to your name, Miss Susan?
Do what?
Get down to your name.
Yep, we are through the ones that were submitted through the online portal, or that were submitted to staff.
There's one more.
Oh, that's right, we added somebody late. Chris Umberger again. Thing on the list, recommendation, change the title from land use to zoning to avoid confusion.
To what?
From land use to zoning to avoid confusion.
He didn't like the term
No,
land use. He thought it was,
Kinda hiding something.
yeah.
Oh,
Y'all do what you want to do. Land use classification and zoning are the same thing.
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's a softer tone saying land use than it is zoning because of the perception of years and years of button heads. So land use, I think, makes it feel more, I think people have more of an ownership term than you do zoning. Zoning sounds more governmental, land use sounds more personal, in my opinion.
It's more community focused, I think.
Yes.
We're not the only ones that have used the terms land use classification or land use guidance. County of Bedford updated its ordinance a few years ago to land use guidance. It has that softer feel to it.
Yeah. I'd say good, moving on.
I'll leave it plain.
Yeah.
Next.
Anyway.
You change it back, don't change it.
You don't
He
find
recommends consider farming by right in all zones.
You know you do.
I can't agree with that recommendation. If you've got a third of an acre in Newtown, I don't know that farming is, suitable there. And I say that because I've got a third of an acre in Newtown. For one thing, I'm afraid I'm gonna fall through at some point. And I'm a big guy. I just, you all have offered some guidance on that tonight. I don't think we need to go any deeper into it than we already have, unless you all see differently.
Anyway.
Consider allowing child or elder care by right in residential zones. I'm not sure that we don't. There are some things that we do consider to be uses by special exception. But there are some uses that have to be by right. Group homes, as an example, has to be a by right in residential zoning.
That'd be very predictable, right?
We've already talked about the 1,000-foot corridor. Says consider lumping adult business, cannabis, and shooting range in the same regulation since you want similar restrictions on all. Again, I can't recommend that just because I think you want those separate. Thank y'all for coming.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah.
Okay, I'll be right there.
You gotta stay to the end, though, Steven. You can't leave.
Some corrections, again, 4x4 was intended to be a dog house or dog shelter. It was not intended to be anything large. Talks about conforming to Virginia Senate Bill 347, the Solar Siting Standards Act. That there may be some adjustment that is required. We'll review that. Consider formally placing the zoning administrator in the building inspector's office to avoid the appearance of Big Brother in the county administration. I'm not sure that will help. Honestly, I think it probably would make it worse. If you don't have some separation between the zoning administrator and the building inspector, it looks like one or the other has control over the other. You want some independence, and so I would not recommend doing that unless you all see differently.
No.
Finally, consider requiring that anyone denied a zoning permit or special use permit be provided a written explanation of the denial and summary of their rights to appeal and deadlines to do so. Let's make sure that everyone is treated fairly. Well, as it turns out, we have to do that anyway. You have to do that.
That's probably by law, I would.
Not optional.
Yeah.
What is it?
Written explanation is
Yeah,
now.
if
A written explanation.
if you're denied something.
And what your rights are. So if
Yeah.
you have, 30 days to file an appeal
Right.
or 15 days to file an appeal, whatever your appeal rights are, that has to be spelled out. So we would do that. Please do not add more zones. Maintaining a light touch implies keeping it simple, and I think that reflects the conversation you all have had tonight. Is it possible to state that the objections to special use permit would be considered based on actual proximity to the property and not arbitrary complaints of non-neighbors? No, it's a public process, I don't have to live in the neighborhood to
Object.
and give an objection. You all, as the body, can give more weight to somebody who lives closer than somebody who lives, say, in Richmond and is just an absentee landlord or absentee property owner. I've been in that sort of situation. Sometimes those people want to have their feelings be known. It's a public process, so we give them that opportunity. How much weight you give that, you decide. So then we come back, 3 of you have submitted things that were given to you or that you wanted to discuss. You've been at this for over an hour and a half now. Do you want a break? Do you want to
Push
go back
through.
and
Let's
consider this
get her, I want.
Let's
get
knock it
done.
out.
Let's keep going. I mean, let's just,
Okay. Ms. Branscombe, 3 public hearings for changes in zoning. We can't do that. It's a public hearing in front of the Planning Commission and a public hearing in front of the Board of Supervisors. So as the Planning Commission, you can always say, we want to have a public hearing and then we're going to not take action on it for 30 days, come back in 30 days. But people need to have a time and place for their public hearing, and then you all can consider how to do that. We talked about the special use and already got guidance on that. Power and water resource usage depletions, do we have capacity for the requested project?
That's really DEQ, right?
County, the Regional Water Authority.
I mean, we all say,
Power.
A lot of regulatory agencies.
Right, so that would be done as part of the plan review process. And then we talked about the industrial zones. I've got direction on that. Mr. Midkiff, I assume that is not, you want your zoning designation changed, it is you've heard from multiple people who wanted their zoning.
Yes, that's just general comments from the public. All 6 of those, all 5 of those are just comments from the public, none personally.
I don't know, Dave, they sound a lot like you.
I heard from Mr. Castle 3 times at 3 meetings. He wanted his zoning changed.
I think we all heard from Mr. Castle 3 times, and we heard him loud and clear. Various discrepancies in the allowed uses. I think you're getting at 2 things. There are some discrepancies in both the written uses and in the mapping. So you've given me direction on the
Well,
mapping.
that Mr. Floyd that came here a couple of times, he pointed one, I forgot exactly which one it was, he pointed out that the wording was ambiguous to the next section, like ag to R1, or he was, but I forgot
Is staff
exactly.
making,
Staff is going through, we'll have to go through and check line by line.
Yeah.
okay.
Gonna be a fun summer.
So that's 2 and 3 for language and discrepancies?
Three is clearer language on what is required to get a permit.
Okay.
We've had to answer some of those tonight. We'll try to
Yeah,
clean up that language.
that number 3 we've unanswered, maybe not having a building permit for an ag building. That was for Mr. Castle also.
And Chris.
Yeah.
What?
increase, she says.
And Chris. Because that was one of Chris Numberger's biggest things at every meeting that he came to. We talked talk to me about.
Yep.
Number 4 is too many zoning districts, one residential, not two. That's a policy
No kind of ag
direction you'd
building.
have to give.
A charge.
You wanted to reduce
Yeah.
and not have two residential classifications. It's really up to the body to provide direction.
That's just one of the comments from some citizens saying, why do we have two residential districts? Residential's residential is his,
Well, I had to deal with duplexes and things of that nature, when I was looking at it.
What was the, where's the designations?
High traffic and low traffic.
Well, the R1 is your lower density residential, so that would be for your larger lots, your developed
Acreage.
subdivisions. Those would be generally the ones that may not necessarily have access to public water and sewer. Your R2 could be higher density, so you could have your duplexes, your apartments, townhouses, in that sort of development as a use by right. That was done with, keep in mind, we are going to have some growth. We're going to have some development in the county. So those areas that already have public utilities and access to better transportation should be, you should allow smaller lots, higher development density in those areas. So that's the reason why we have two different residential classifications.
Yeah, I think.
And you've got some areas that, you may have 4 or 5 residential classifications in their zoning ordinances just
Right.
because they can do higher density, taller buildings, that sort of thing.
Colors and everything else. Yeah, no, makes sense. Thank
So
you.
Is there any will of the body to decrease it to one residential?
I think you need to have at least those two.
Yeah.
I mean, I live in R1, right?
Yep.
So,
And then the general comment, if it's too complicated, it's as simple as I can make it.
yeah, I understand, but I've had that saying, they're saying it's too complicated.
well, this is when they come and ask questions.
Yep.
If you don't understand it, show up. All right.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dunford, the buffer zone, I think was related to Whispering Pines.
That's correct, and basically, what we discussed about making the ag part of that and giving them a voice if it changes, that would be what I would think would be suitable remedy for that. And y'all change some of the by right activities to include, the data centers and things of that nature, is where that was coming from.
Okay.
That protect land owners, aggressive HOA, I told them that was in the deeds and agreements. I don't think there's anything the county can actually stipulate on that.
I think it's, DPOR is the state agency that regulates HOAs. Usually if you're in an HOA, you're in it until
Yeah.
it's 50 years old. And then it can be
You got enough
dissolved.
people that wants to change it, they do that outside the county.
Right.
How many HOAs do we have in the county?
There's a lot of people that think they're in an HOA that are
They're
not.
not, they're just in an agreement pack with.
We're in
their
an
deeds.
agreement pack, but that really comes back to almost nothing too.
My subdivision, I live in, got, requirements and restrictions, what I can do and what I can't do, but we don't have an HOA,
Right.
and we don't have.
But if
deeds.
you want to do something that's against that, you gotta go to a lawsuit.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
And that's
it's
basically
simple.
what I told them. I said that was pretty much outside the county's review, even now, I mean, that's in effect now, so.
Right.
And as far as the rights of, property rights in local government, basically, I agree with them on some of this stuff. I mean, but, once you concern and go from there, because like I said, I don't know what to say about that, because I've been, adamant about that, where I hang a flag, put a stick, or you put a pole in my yard or whatever, but, times are changing a little bit, so.
I think Lisa forwarded to you all a letter from the Farm Bureau. Farm Bureau did weigh in on this. We don't have it here on this comment sheet. But the Farm Bureau says that they're opposed to the zoning ordinance as it's written, and they're opposed to data centers and solar farms. Well, I can only do something about those last two if you do something with me on the first.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, the law is the law, we're working within the law. Anything outside of that, can't help you. If you want something done about data centers, and you can't outright ban them, but if you want to manage how they grow, where they grow, how they develop,
You've got to have some kind of
sort of
teeth.
zoning or land use guidance. So we've been through all these. Staff has some homework to do. How do you want to handle the next step? You want us to have further conversation as part of the next meeting in early July? Do you want to continue this work session before your next meeting? What's your guidance?
When do you want to meet again? Do you
Is it-
want to recess or adjourn?
Is it too much of a time frame for us to be able to review it at the next regularly scheduled?
I think we can get through most of these, so you can review them at your next regular meeting. I don't think we could be done any sooner than that, just because we got plenty going on.
Turn this,
I say we adjourn the meeting.
turn the meeting now and looking at the next meeting, like you were saying.
So your guidance would be, we add this as an old business, well, do you want to do it as an old business item? Or have us put it later in the agenda
For the July meeting,
for the July meeting?
that's my vote.
But I think that's an item later in the agenda.
Do it after our regular staff reports, so it is the last thing that we discuss.
Yeah.
Maybe force some of us to keep our regular reports a little shorter than usual. I'll tell Johnny.
Well, at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Everybody will do a roll call vote from the,
Aye.
Aye.
the work session and the continuation of the Wythe County Planning Commission June meeting is adjourned.